Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark, hired Dr. Bodden, who is world renowned for his skills as a forensic pathologist, who conducted an autopsy on Jeffrey Epstein and came out of the autopsy saying this was a murder. He has a bone that was fractured in the front of his throat that gets, basically, it gets broken typically when you've been strangled, not, I guess, when you hang yourself. And there were other indications by Dr. Bodden that led him to say this was not a suicide. This doesn't look like a suicide. So, and there were other questions too that Jeffrey Epstein's brother has been raising. So it's like, it's more than just right-wing nuts, as like some in the press would have you believe, Tom, who are saying, wait. And on top of all that, you've got the Bondi statements over and over. The one saying, she didn't say the file's on my desk. She was asked specifically about the client list, and she said, it's on my desk right now. Then a week later, she promised Jesse Waters she was about to dump some sort of information dump that we were all going to be really interested in. The next day was the influencer debacle at the White House, where for some reason she invited some of the president's most loyal supporters and tried to humiliate them by giving them Epstein file marked binders, which had nothing new in them. It was all publicly released information that had already been out there. Then she acted indignant. She didn't know it was the sleazy FBI who had withheld the real documents from her. She was going to get to the bottom of it. Then she said a further release would come. One did not come. Then she was caught on tape saying there are tens of thousands of kiddie porn or child pornography material that we found, which again is like a third issue over here. And next thing we know, there's no there. And by the way, on top of all that, that same week between Feb 21 and Feb 26, when Pam Bondi made those two statements, client list is on my desk and more information is going to drop tomorrow, you had Alina Habba, who was then working for the president. She's officially counselor to the president. She had been his private attorney in that New York ridiculous case against his business. And she would go to work for Pam Bondi 3 weeks later, saying this to Piers Morgan.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
Names.
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Okay, Tom, what's she talking about? Names? Accountability. They're going to have their day in court. I don't want to declare them guilty before they have their day. That's pretty specific.
Yeah. And to turn around and just say, oh, there's no list. Look, this is not, they want this story to end. It's not going to end. In fact, it's probably going to make it worse because it has just raised a whole new set of questions about, okay, now the Trump administration, who promised us accountability and transparency on all sorts of issues, is now doing the exact same thing that previous administrations have done. And you can already see that bubbling up online among Trump supporters who are just, disappointed at the way that they've handled this. And to your point, Megyn, I mean, up until 24 hours ago, they had given a whole host of indications and statements pointing in the direction of there being a list, there being names, there being people that were going to face consequences. And now suddenly it's just like they wave a magic wand and it's like, oh, well, there's nothing there and we're moving on. I don't think it's going to happen.
What's interesting, though, as I say, I've been listening carefully to Bongino, to Cash. Since taking office, they have not said the Bondi stuff. They are not out on that same limb since taking over at FBI. Only she is. And one of the reasons that's interesting, Carl, is because Trump sent out a tweet last night praising two of the three that we're talking about here, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Noticeably absent from the list was Pam Bondi. And he knows as well as you and I know she's under fire. Go ahead, Carl.
Well, I was going to ask you follow this story more closely than we have. And I was going to ask you, what what do you think is, you have Kash Patel, especially, and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General and the FBI Director, both appointed by Trump, both Trump loyalists, both praise Trump all the time, but they're telling different stories. Who do you think is right? Who do you think's telling the truth?
Well, look, my audience knows I am not very conspiratorial at all. Like, I disbelieve almost every one of them. I have no doubts that we did land on the moon. I'm just not one of those people at all.
9/11 actually happened.
9/11 happened. We didn't detonate a building. Like, I don't believe in any of that. None of it. Now, I believe COVID started in a lab. I'm not that crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm completely taking all the government nonsense. But I'm one of those people who 9 times out of 10, I believe it's government incompetence as opposed to big, like, government machinations against us. But in this case, I don't know what's happening. Bondi has confused me. I don't know what she's doing. However, I have not really believed that there's a massive conspiracy around Epstein because I know somebody very close to the case, and this person knows everything there is to know about the case. And this person all along has been telling me that it really was, Epstein was into the barely legal types, like legal, but barely legal, that Epstein wasn't having young children, come to any of his places, and wasn't actually having interactions with anyone who would be blatantly illegal. And that this person said Ghislaine Maxwell really wasn't a pimp for other, farming out young girls to other men. Now, I didn't know whether it was true or not, but I have all these years, I have yet to see something that disproves any of that. And on top of that, the DOJ brought a case. They brought a case against Epstein. They brought a case against Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, if the DOJ were engaged in a massive cover-up, why would they bring these cases? Why would they open up these federal investigations against them and go into federal court, or be prepared to, in Epstein's case before he died? It just doesn't seem, that's not exactly how you should orchestrate or would orchestrate a cover-up. And I also, maybe I'm the only one, but I trust Bill Barr. And he took a deep dive on this and swore to me that Epstein killed himself. I believe Dan Bongino when he's on Fox saying there's nothing, we've looked at the tape. I know maybe there's a missing, I don't know how he's going to explain that, but I believe him. And I think he's told me in many settings, there's nothing to support that he was murdered. And I believe him. So anyway, that's where I am. But I understand why other people disagree with me based on all the discussions we're having.
Can I add one thing to what you said, Megyn? Could the answer simply be that Pam Bondi is over her head? I mean, she came to office with a really good resume, Attorney General of Florida, prosecutors that they've, in the federal system, who they've now said are deep state, saboteurs, told me that they had high hopes for her, that, she was more qualified than some of these other people like, Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy Jr. for the job that she got. But she's done this. She's spoken out of school the way I've never heard an AG speak on other cases. There was this case, we're gonna throw the book at that person. We're not gonna plea bargain it. We're gonna, give them 30 years before the indictment. And she just has behaved in ways on other cases that makes me wonder if she's the SAT question that doesn't add up here.
I mean, just look at the influencer thing, you guys. What kind of an attorney general, just take a step back, what kind of an attorney general would pretend she's giving new information to some of the president's most loyal advocates in the press, buying ink by the barrel? So either Pam Bondi knew she was about to embarrass some of his most loyal surrogates out there and did that willingly, or she didn't take the time to make sure what was in those binders. She was too lazy to actually figure out none of this is new. And yet she called a meeting with the influencers that included Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, and the sitting vice president. So she's either lazy and incompetent, or she willingly humiliated some of the president's most loyal supporters. Neither one of those is good, and that's why I'm sorry, but I'm going to predict her days are numbered as a member of the Trump administration. Am I right or wrong? What do you guys think? Andrew, you got the high eyebrows.
Well, the half-life of a Trump appointee is always difficult to predict. So I don't think I'd predict one way or the other on that. I think overall, I think he likes her. I think she's despite this latest hiccup, I think that he thinks that she represents him well, and I think she sticks around. But I don't know. Depends on.
I'm not so sure. If you look at conservative Twitter, she's right in the crosshairs. Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they're moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your own personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. OMG. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by buying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold extremely easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.